Okay, we're taping now. You're excited about doing this movie, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you realize we're taking our life in our hands to see who we're going to make mad this year, right?
I suppose.
Anyway, well, I know you love your brothers and sisters, but we talked about talking about a specific time in the family history, at least starting there, at least using that as a launching point. And so what we chose was when Uncle Jerry and Uncle Charles went off to World War II. So why don't you talk about how the family was before the war? Who all was at home? Who all had already left? That kind of thing. Were all the boys and Aunt Doris and everybody still at home in 1939? Well, let's go back a little further. I tell you what. Why don't we start with Aunt Burnett and when she died? Because that's right before the war. What year was that?
She died in September of 1939.
What day in September?
September the... Let's see. September the 20...
The 28th.
28th September.
Wasn't it?
I'm not there.
I think because Daddy died on the 29th, and we had his funeral on October the 1st, and I think Burnett's is the 28th, the day before that.
I think you're right.
Okay. See, you trained me well in the dates. Aren't you glad?
Oh, yeah.
And Burnett was who? Who was she?
Her name?
No, who was she? What was her relationship to you?
My twin sister.
Okay. What happened when she died? How did she die?
She died of Bright's disease.
And did she just get sick one day and die, or how did that happen?
She was sick 3 weeks, and if I remember correctly, she went to school. That was, time to start back to school her senior year.
Right.
And I believe she went to school 3 days and then got sicker. She was really sick that summer. Something was going on.
Do you remember how you knew she was sick, or?
I think Myrtle suspected it before anybody did.
Huh. How so? I mean.
Well, the nurse, the metropolitan nurse would come around, and she told, I think she told my mother that we need to have our tonsils removed. Because they were bad, and Burnett she just didn't feel good the whole summer.
Just weak and not going outside much, and.
Or whatever.
Was she staying in bed a lot, or what was she doing?
No.
I mean, what were her symptoms? I'm just curious. Is this too painful to talk about?
Well, sometimes a lot of it I don't recall so many instances.
You don't have to talk about anything that hurts too bad. But, as much as you can if you're comfortable, because the rest of the family, nobody else knows this. And it's important that we all know, so we can remember her too. I mean, even though I never knew her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny, don't you think, that, and I think I said this to you the other night on the phone, is that even though she died so many years before I was born, she's always been a part of our family. I mean, she's always been a part of the discussions and what if and that kind of thing.
Of course, I think about her very often.
Right. But anyway, okay. So are you okay to talk about it?
Yes.
Well, then let's move on to when she died. She went to the hospital. They took her to the hospital, didn't they?
Dr. Woodruff Sr. came out to see her one day and had her sent to the hospital. That was one afternoon, I believe. And we took her to the hospital, and my mother went with her. Well, I went and Merle went. I don't remember who I went. I guess Ellard probably took us. And she died at 1 o'clock the next morning. Me and Merle spent the night with Ellard and Laura that night. And they called us. We went to the hospital, early that morning.
Did Ellard and Laura have kids by that point?
No, and let's see, I believe they had one that died at early birth,
Right. Yeah, he's the one that's buried out there.
Pardon?
He's the one that's buried out there with them, isn't he? Right. What's his name?
James.
James, that's what okay, yeah, I remember that. Interesting. So, after Aunt Burnett died, what happened to you that school year?
Well, I went back to school and graduated the next spring.
Right. And then, do you remember anything in the news about things that led up to World War II? Y'all were in the mill village, right? And your father was still working in the mill, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so, how did the mill village run, and how did news get to the mill village?
I don't really remember about her, you mean?
No, not about Aunt Burnett. I mean news in general, like about how you found out about what was going on in World War I and those kind of things before World War I. Because by 1939, Hitler was already in charge in Germany. Do you remember knowing that?
No.
You don't? When did you first hear about Hitler or the Japanese or?
The night that we heard it on the radio.
So you'd never heard of Adolf Hitler?
Well, yeah, I probably had. I just don't recall all those things.
Right. What do you remember about the night that y'all heard about the Pearl Harbor bombing?
I guess I was like everybody else, kind of devastated.
Right. Where were you when you heard it?
In the kitchen with the radio turned on.
Who was with you? Do you remember?
I think Pete was there. And probably, well, I'm sure Jerry was there.
How old would Uncle Jerry have been then?
Around 14.
Okay. All right. I would guess around 15.
12 or 14.
No, he'd have to be around 15. Wasn't he born in 26?
Yeah.
This was in December of 41, right? When was Pearl Harbor bombed?
I think it was 40, wasn't it?
Well, I'm sitting here trying to debate with myself. I can't remember 40 or 41. If it was in 1940, then he would have been 14. If it was in 41, he would have been 15. So yeah, he would probably have been at home. Your dad would have been there.
Yeah.
Aunt Myrtle probably.
But I know we were in the kitchen.
Right. Wow. Okay. So Aunt Myrtle was at home. Uncle Bill had already moved away.
And Elmer had moved.
Uncle Eller had moved away. Pete was still at home. Charles. What year was Sonny born?
1940 or 41.
So Charles was already out,
Yeah.
mostly anyway. And then, and Alice was born that year, wasn't she?
She was born in,
40, wasn't she?
yeah.
Okay, so.
January of 40.
And she's the baby, isn't she?
Of the grandchildren.
No, I'm the baby of the grandchildren.
Yeah.
We can never lose track of that.
Oh, no.
Barbara.
Now, Vicky would have been
Yeah,
the youngest
if I hadn't been born.
if it wasn't for you.
If it wasn't for me, that's right.
If it wasn't
Had to steal the
Vicky
title
would
from
be
Vicky.
the baby.
That's right. I had to steal it from Vicky. What can I do? But Vicky, I love Vicky. She's
Yeah, she's a good
in a
girl.
little bit. I want to talk a little bit later. I want to talk about how they used to come over at Christmas and stuff, and have breakfast with us and stuff. That was fun. But that was before before Vicky met Dennis, or as Uncle Jerry calls him, Doris's son-in-law. But back to the war. So Aunt Doris was already out of the house because she'd already had Joyce, and by 1940 Barbara wasn't born yet, was she?
No, Joyce was born in 1930.
Joyce was born in 1930.
Billy was born in 1929. Joyce was born in 1930.
When was Barbara born?
1937.
Okay, and when was Sue born?
1941, I believe.
Well, see, I was going to put Barbara about Sue's age and Sue younger than that, so yay!
Joyce was born in 30. Barbara was born in 37. Sue was born in 40.
So Uncle Bill and Aunt Norbell had already had all their kids by the time the war broke out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Aunt Doris had had everybody but Sue.
Yeah.
Sonny was born, but Diane's younger than Sonny, so Diane wasn't born yet.
No. Diane, Sonny was born in 1941, I believe.
Okay, what about Judy and Gary? What years were they born? Do you remember?
Gary was born in 19. Let's see. Yeah, we said Sue was born in 41.
Mm-hmm.
Gary was born in 42.
Okay, and then Judy's younger than Gary, right?
Judy was born in 45, I believe.
Okay. And then after Judy, nobody was born until...
Wait a minute. Diane was born 1946.
Okay, so then Diane was born, and then Mike, and then Vicky, and then me, right?
Mike was born in 1950.
50. Vicky was born in...
Vicky was born in 1952.
Right. And I was born in 1975, right?
65. Don't be funny.
Oh, anyway, okay, back to the war. So that kind of puts everybody in place when the war happened. What do you think? Well, I'm trying. What I was trying to establish, how many grandkids were around in when the war broke out and that kind of thing, and so Uncle Jerry was living at home when he decided to go off to war, and Uncle Charles was already married to Rebecca when he decided to go off to war. So that's two very different ways of starting or of going to war, because they had to know when they signed up they were going to war.
Well, now we haven't forgotten any of the grandkids, have we?
I don't think. We talked about all of Uncle Bill's kids were born. Aunt Doris's kids, we talked about them. I mean, we know that Alice is the baby of Uncle Bill's kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So before that, there would have been Billy, and then, is Bobby older than Jack?
No, Jack's next.
So Jack and Peggy, his
Billy,
twin sister.
Jack,
Peggy.
Bob, and Addie.
You forgot Peggy, Jack's twin sister.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've got everybody, because we've took Uncle Bill's kids, Uncle Bill and Aunt Norbell's kids, Uncle Harvey and Aunt Doris's kids, then Uncle Ellard's kids, then Pete didn't have kids,
Myrtle did.
Aunt Myrtle didn't have kids, Burnett didn't have kids, Uncle Jerry had kids, and you had one. So we covered everybody, right? We didn't leave anybody. Airedale didn't have any kids.
I believe.
Okay, all right. Okay, now back to the war. How did y'all find out that Uncle Jerry had signed up? Did he talk about it before doing it, or did he just go do
I
it?
don't remember if he was drafted or what. But and Jerry went into the Army, and then when I don't know if he got out and re-enlisted in the Air Force.
Right.
Because he retired in the Air Force.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I knew he was in the Air Force, but I don't know how. I didn't get that connected. But
he retired from the Air Force.
Now he served under Patton, didn't he?
I think.
Somebody's always told me that somebody served under Patton. Was it him or Uncle Charles?
Might have been Charles. I don't remember all of that. Tim.
Okay. Well, talk about what the family was doing while they were off at war. Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to Uncle Charles. How did you hear that Uncle Charles went to war?
I don't really and truly remember. I don't know if he was. And they got married in. Let's see, Sonny was born in 41.
Well, I think it's, I don't know, whatever, somewhere in the neighborhood. I don't have any of my documents here, so I'm kind of messed up. But
I don't really remember all that.
Anyway, so what was the family going through while they were away? You listened to the radio a lot, obviously.
Oh yeah, we had a radio and we listened to the radio a lot, and we just seemed to, accept it because we knew they had to do it.
And go ahead.
And Pete wrote this poem about the war. It had several stanzas about, I think the title of it was blast those Japanese or something like that. I used to have a copy of it, but I don't know what happened to it.
I've never seen it. Wow.
Did you ever know that?
I never knew you had a copy of it. Was it
And
handwritten?
Myrtle probably had a copy of it.
Aunt Myrtle?
Probably.
I imagine there's some of those books I haven't looked into and everything.
Probably. It's probably somewhere.
Okay. Well, we'll look for it.
And I think he sent, Jeanette Price went to join the, whatever it was the women were in.
Wax or waves or...
Yeah. And he sent, they corresponded some. I think he sent her a copy of that poem.
Do you think if he had lived, she would have married him?
No.
Just curious. So, you started work while the war was going on, didn't you? Didn't you go to work then?
I don't even remember what year I went to work. And I didn't finish high school till 1940.
I know. The war started and ended in 45.
I must have gone to work in maybe 1941, I'm not sure.
You started in a drugstore, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the drugstore.
What did you do?
Huh?
What did you do there?
Cashier.
Well, let's jump to something else then.
And I worked in the mill a while.
I think everybody in the family at that point worked in the mill a while, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you and Aunt Doris worked the least amount of time in the mill, though, didn't you?
Well, I don't think Charles worked there very long either. He worked for,
Aunt Myrtle worked there 40 years.
yeah.
Because we got that little 40-year plaque.
Charles worked for, back then they had ice places.
Mm-hmm.
And people in the, Mr. Bennett, I think was his name, delivered ice. And I remember Charles worked for him for a while. Charles always worked.
Okay, well let's talk about something else. Who else you want to talk about?
Ellered.
Okay. You started that.
Ellered was a good man. I remember when I was in high school, and I was Mr. Tidwell, it was right after Burnett died. And Mr. Tidwell I remember we had already been given our workbooks, that we were supposed to work in for that year. And Mr. Tidwell used Burnett's, to go by. And in that year, I was one of the main players in our senior play.
Mm-hmm.
When I would have to go for rehearsals or anything that I had to go to for school, Ellard always saw that I got there. Ellard was real good to me.
Yeah, it was. Can you tell the story about what Uncle Ellard did for me?
He taught you to like coffee, for one thing.
Yeah, that too. I was talking about the piano.
Oh, he sent a salesman out with a piano for us to buy for you. And we bought it.
They had the piano on the back of the truck, didn't they?
We didn't know he was coming. But you had been over, I believe, Ellard had a piano.
Yeah, they had a piano. I think Gary still has it.
Who has it?
I think Gary has it.
Oh, really? Anyhow, you love to play with that piano.
Well, he taught me some songs on it.
Ellard would let you play, and we didn't even know that guy was coming. But, I mean, you know, Ballard went along with it just the same as I did.
Yeah.
But that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, I can remember him and Aunt Myrtle saying, I wondered if Aunt Myrtle wasn't behind that some, because I think, you know, Aunt Myrtle used to have those Reader's Digest books that would have hymns printed on the back of it.
Yeah.
And Aunt Myrtle would let me play church. And I never wanted to be the preacher or anybody. I wanted to lead the music. And so we'd sing all the hymns on the back of them. I remember one of them had printed, "What a friend we have in Jesus" on the back of it. And so we sang that one a lot. So I wonder if Aunt Myrtle or not. But I remember one time Uncle Ellard saying to her, well, he's obviously good at it, so he needed a piano. Something about, well, we can't wait on Ballard. So
And another thing that I remember about Ellard, me and Ellard bought a pig together. You know,
a pig.
A pig that was, you know, that had already been was ready for sale. You know what I mean?
Okay. Was it alive or slaughtered?
It was slaughtered. And it was
Oh,
okay. We bought one together, me and Ellard.
Oh, okay. I was sitting there going, you bought a pig? Did you? I was thinking you trained a pig or something.
A pig to eat.
Right. It's funny. Hmm. Anything else?
Well, Ellard had the feeling that he might have cheated me a little bit in us dividing the meat.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I was up at Jeanette Price's, and he came up there and hugged me and apologized for him, and I told him he didn't owe me anything. I was fine with it. But he had the feeling that he might have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in other words, he might have wound up with more meat than you did. Is that what you're saying?
But I said, no. And he was okay. And I remember him hugging me and telling me he was sorry if he did make a difference.
Wow.
But, I mean, Ellard was a real good man.
Were you closer to Uncle Ellard than any of your other brothers at that time, or, you know? Because it sounds like he took care of you a lot after Aunt Burnett died.
Well, he paid a lot of attention to me.
Right.
And Myrtle did too. Myrtle was...
Was it him or Aunt Myrtle that bought your class ring?
Myrtle. It cost $9.25.
Tell the other story about the class ring.
Jerry.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to tell that.
Why? Vicky will think it's funny. So would Uncle Jerry, too, for that matter. Remember, they're the part of the family that have a sense of humor.
Jerry got my class ring and let a girlfriend of his wear it. And I didn't know anyhow. I found out about it. And Daddy made him go back and get it back from her. And I think this girl had it. It was too little for her finger.
Mm-hmm.
And she had it made bigger. And I think Daddy made Jerry fix it, had it fixed or something. I still got it.
Yeah, I know.
Myrtle bought it though.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now Charles bought my first watch.
I knew he bought something for you like that.
It was an Elgin watch.
Huh. You don't still have it, do you?
No, I should have kept it. Charles, all of my brothers were good to me.
Well, Aunt Doris was good to you. My God, every time you went to her house, you wound up with something.
Yeah. And when I was working, and I would need a cake for a party or something.
Mm.
All I had to do was call Doris, and if she didn't have one in the freezer, she'd cook me one.
Mm-hmm.
Doris was real good to me, and Harvey was too.
Yeah.
Doris was always better to me than I was to her, and I knew that.
Mm. Hey, Doris was a good woman. She really was.
We had our differences, and we'd get mad with each other, but I loved her dearly.
Well, you were Cottons. You liked to fight.
Well, and I was the baby girl,
Right.
and after Burnett died, they just petted me a lot, you know, too much. Merle would buy me nice clothes and just do things for me.
Hmm.
And Edward was good to me. They were all real good to me.
You were blessed to have a big family like that were, that loved each other.
And I remember one time, this was after I went to work, and I bought this, or had it laid away, this pretty green suit. And I had it laid away at the darning shop. It's on Noble Street. And I didn't have money to pay it out. And I borrowed it from Pete. And after I brought it home, I kind of talked him out of what I owed him. He said, "Oh, Bernie, that's okay. You don't have to pay me."
That wasn't what he said. Say it. Yeah, say it.
He said, "Oh, shit, Bernie. It's okay. You don't have to pay for it."
This movie just got a PG rating.
And that was something I remember about Sonny. Sonny was at our house, a lot.
Right.
And I remember one time we were sitting in front of the fire. I was holding Sonny in my lap, and Pete was sitting there with us. And Sonny had this horn or something that made a lot of noise. He was real little. He loved to blow that horn, make a lot of noise with it. And we were sitting, in front of the fireplace. Me and Pete talked him into throwing it in the fireplace to keep from hearing it. We told him if he would throw it in the fireplace and make a real pretty flame. And he threw it in the fireplace.
Oh my soul, y'all are mean.
We weren't mean.
Okay, look, you make this all sound like all y'all ever did was get along.
Well, we had to get along. We weren't allowed to fuss and fight.
Oh, y'all didn't do that till you were older?
No.
Okay. Because, Lord knows, Cottons like to fight. No comment?
I remember something else about Jerry. And this was before Burnett died. And Mama traded with the Jewel Tea Man. And she had ordered this cleanser. It was white, I remember. And me and Burnett told Jerry that was white cocoa. There wasn't no such thing as white cocoa back then. It might not be now, I don't know. But we talked Jerry into tasting it. Jerry don't remember that, I don't think. We were mean.
Goodness gracious. Now we all know where Rhonda Wagner gets it. It's from her Aunt Bernice. Well, let's talk about nieces and nephews. Since it's Christmas and everything, we've got about 20 minutes left on the tape.
Okay, well, you won't talk about.
Why don't you why don't you give some special messages to some of your nieces and nephews that you might not get to see at Christmas, but you just want to say hi and you love them or whatever you want to say to them,
I love all of them.
Well, you can name names, you know who will and won't see it. Come on,
Now,
I mean, Billy doesn't have a.
Start with oldie.
Well, Billy doesn't have a internet, but go ahead. You can start. Work through them. That's fine.
Billy's the oldest, and I loved Billy. He was a pretty baby. I remember, and I'm 10 years older than Billy, and I remember holding him when he was a baby.
Well, what do you want to say to Billy if he hears this?
Billy, I love you very much, and I hope and pray that everything goes well for you.
Okay. Who else? Yeah, okay. Just keep going. You can work right through them. If you want to skip one, skip one. It's up to you. Whoever you want to talk to, you can talk to.
The next one was Joyce. Joyce, you want me to talk about the ones that are gone?
If you want to. Whatever you want to say, Mother. This is your time.
Joyce was the oldest, next to Billy, you know. And me and Joyce were pretty close, and I loved Joyce. And we talked on the telephone a lot. And Joyce would send me, in later years, she sent me a nice Christmas present every year. She spent a lot of time over at her house when she was real young.
Okay. Just keep going. You don't have to say that's all.
And who was next? Jack, I guess. Jack was at our house a lot when he was young. He was full of mischief. I remember one time had scrubbed the front porch and he was walking on it and I ran him off with a broom.
You know, every time I saw Jack, he told me that story.
He did.
He'd tell me, your mother ran me off the porch with a broom.
Because he was tracking a clean floor. But Jack was always good looking. And was well aware of the fact.
Okay.
But I loved him. Let's see who's next. After Jack. Who's after Jack?
Mother, I can keep them in groups, you know. So, I would do all of Uncle Bill's kids because I can get them in order, you know. Jack and then Bobby.
I guess Bobby's next. No, Addis Faye's next. No, Barbara.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, let's don't leave Barbara out.
No. Barbara was over at our house a good bit, and I remember one time Barbara had pigtails, and she didn't like her pigtails. And I cut her hair, and her mother got real mad at me about it. I shouldn't have done it, but Barbara begged me to cut her hair.
Go ahead and get that.
Hello. I'm okay. Hey, you, Barbara. You know what? I told him, I said, I've got to look and see if I'm supposed to do anything this morning, and I just got to work and I let it skip by. I'm sorry. Okay. 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 Thanks for calling. I love you. Bye. That was Barbara. She missed me at coffee and donuts. And the water's off, and don't get in the shower without calling them to release you that it's already off.
Crap.
And they got a problem downstairs somewhere. Don't get in the shower without calling them to see if the water's on.
Okay. Well, we'll hang out then. All right, keep going then.
What was it?
You were talking about Barbara. And you can't, and there's, you got to say a lot about Barbara. She's your favorite.
Yeah, let's see, what did I say?
It's still on. I'm just gonna hang up your phone because you didn't hang it up right. It's okay.
Oh, about the hair cutting. And her mother got real mad at me. I didn't blame her because I shouldn't have done it, but I did. And then Barbara came over to the house one day. I think she'd spend the night over there or something. Anyhow, she wanted to fry some bananas, and she said her mother wouldn't let her fry them at home, and I let her fry some bananas.
Fried bananas. What bananas? What is that?
Bananas?
I know what bananas are. I never heard of you frying them.
Well, we did.
Oh, okay.
And I loved for Barbara to come over. I don't think she spent as much time over there as Joey's, but she spent a good bit of time.
I guess the ones that spent the most time over there were Joyce, Barbara, and Sonny.
Yeah, and Sonny and Joyce used to play cards together after Mama got in the bed, because Mama didn't like cards.
Right.
And Joyce and Sonny would play cards after Mama went to bed, and I wouldn't tell on them. And I don't think any of the kids were tattletales.
You sure all of them weren't? Some of them weren't?
Who could have been? No, we really didn't tell on each other.
Well, I'm not talking about your brothers and sisters. I'm talking about your nieces and nephews.
No, they wasn't bad tattletales. And then after Barbara's, Gary, I guess.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Is there something you want to say to Barbara?
Oh, yeah, Barbara, I love you very much.
You're going to get to see her at Christmas.
And I'm so glad I'm going to get to see you at Christmas. You and Frank, too. I love Frank, too.
We love Debbie, too, don't we?
Yeah, I love Debbie. Debbie's a good girl.
What about Rhonda and Frankie?
Rhonda's a hoot.
You know, Rhonda's a big Auburn fan.
Really?
Yeah. Mother. I'm kidding. Rhonda's a big... Remember, what does Rhonda have all in her house, remember?
What did you do, what?
What does Rhonda have all in her house, remember? Elephants.
Oh, yeah, elephants.
She's an Alabama fan.
She had the elephants out in her yard, too.
She's an Alabama fan, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But we love Frankie and Rhonda, too.
Oh, yeah, I love Frankie and Rhonda.
John and Gina.
John, the kids, Gina. I love all of them.
You've always been real close to Barbara, though.
Well, I guess.
And she's had a rough time with her health.
Yeah, she really has.
She's definitely a lot like you in that regard. She keeps going.
She's still having a rough time.
Yeah. Okay, who else?
We're on the grandkids, right?
Yeah.
And who's next?
Well, would it be Bobby or Gary?
Bobby was born in 1937. It'd be Bobby.
Okay. Was Bobby around a lot?
Well, not a whole lot. Bobby was one of the prettiest babies I ever saw. And they lived down on Railroad Street a while, I believe. Bobby got burned one time. I forgot what happened.
Did you pull some water over on him or something?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
So I've heard Aunt Myrtle tell it, and I can't remember, you know.
Bobby was so handsome.
He was in the Air Force too, wasn't he? Say.
You know, I don't remember.
He was in the service. I think he was in the Air Force, buddy. Okay, Gary.
And Linda, Bob's wife.
Uh-huh.
I always liked Linda. She was real sweet.
Yeah.
Real good girl.
I hope she's going to make it to the family reunion and maybe bring one or two of the boys.
I hope so too. Okay, who's next? Gary.
Mm-hmm. What's Gary's middle name?
Timothy.
Mm-hmm.
Gary's name is Gary Timothy.
Mm-hmm. Is that where you got my name? It's not. Where did you get my name? I'm curious.
I didn't realize, I guess I had forgotten that Gary's name was Timothy. I just liked the name.
All right, talk about Gary.
Gary was a good kid. Of course, they didn't come to our house a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But Gary was a good kid.
What else do you remember about him?
I remember he had problems with his stomach when he was real young. I remember he had ulcer when he was real young.
Huh.
Gary's always been real nice to me, and I love him.
Yeah. You can talk about it if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
And Judy, I remember Judy was sick a lot when she was young. She had to have one of her kidneys removed, and she had a lot of problems. And then she was in a wreck one time and had problems, and Burl would go over there and keep her while her mother worked.
Because Aunt Laura worked at the mill too, didn't she?
Yeah.
Remember Aunt Laura used to bring home and give to Aunt Myrtle and you those zip bags that you wash your socks in so you couldn't lose them? Lord, I probably need about 15 of those now because I lose socks like the business. Okay, what else?
When Judy and Gary were growing up, they weren't over to our house without, their mother and daddy. But I loved both of them. Sufficient.
Okay. Who else?
I still love both of them.
Oh, you forgot Alice. You realize that we can see your face. Okay, if you don't think you can say anything nice about her right now, we'll move on.
No, I'm going to.
All right.
Alice, she was at our house a good bit when she was growing up, when she was real young. And I remember she used to play with the kids next door to us, the Muncher kids.
Mm-hmm.
Alice has been real good to me, and I love Alice.
Okay. Anything else?
Alice was, when she started college, she got a
Bachelor's degree. Oh, a scholarship.
she got a scholarship. She was very intelligent. Or she wouldn't have gotten, she could have gotten, would not have gotten that had she not been pretty smart. She was real smart in school.
Okay. Well, that leaves you with Mike and Vicky. Well, we didn't talk about Diane, but she's not going to see this, so go on.
Mike was a good-looking kid. He had the prettiest teeth and hair. He was just real good-looking. And he was, kind of musically inclined. He used to play music with some of his friends.
Right. I remember going out and hearing him in Uncle Jerry's garage that time, remember?
Yeah. Mike I always loved Mike. I'd love to see him.
Mm-hmm. What about Vic?
Vic is a hoot, too. I love Vicky. She don't pull very many punches, right?
That's pretty true. I would agree with that.
Huh?
I would agree with that.
And she's a good-hearted person.
Yeah, she is.
And I love her. And I love Denny's. I think they made a good pair.
Yeah.
They've had a good marriage, I think,
Aunt Myrtle loved Vicky, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. Myrtle loved all of the grandkids.
Yeah, but Vicky was kind of special to Aunt Myrtle.
Yeah.
I mean, Aunt Myrtle she raised Sonny and helped raise me, that's for sure, but Aunt Myrtle really loved Vicky.
Well, see, Vicky and Mike were away from us so much of their early childhood.
Aunt Myrtle was making up for lost time, wasn't she?
Because Jerry was in service and they were in other parts of the country or overseas.
Well, Aunt Myrtle kind of doted on Uncle Jerry, too, though, didn't she?
Yeah, she petted him. He was kind of rotten.
Okay,
because he was so spoiled.
That's the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it?
I guess. I know I was spoiled. Myrtle was spoiled to me.
Me too.
Well, all my brothers spoiled me in some ways.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. There have been times, I guess, I always thought, times in my life I thought it was bad to have been born as late as I was.
thought what?
I thought I thought it was bad to have been born as late as I was, and as late in your life. But I had such great aunts and uncles, you know, and I came along when there were no other baby nieces and nephews.
You were the baby.
Yeah, and so Aunt Myrtle was there, and Uncle Bill would come over and take me. I thought the best thing in the world was to go for a ride in Uncle Bill's truck.
Yeah.
Of course, I think if I had realized how he didn't drive all that well, that would have been scary. And of course, then I had Aunt Doris down, 3 blocks away, and she made sure I had
a rough on you sometimes.
She was, but it was. I remember one time when I think you remember this. It was raining at school, and Aunt Myrtle had always told me run down to Aunt Doris's house, and she'll drive you home. And Aunt Doris says it's not but sprinkling. You get out there on that road and walk home. And so I did. I didn't even make it back to the school till here came Uncle Harvey in his truck. And he said, "Don't you tell your Aunt Doris I did this."
Harvey was good to everybody.
Yeah. He always came and carved a pumpkin with me. You remember that? Because Daddy was always in the hospital at Halloween.
Yeah.
Do you remember the year we made the smoke on the sidewalk and it stunk so bad?
No.
We did some kind of chemical or something.
You used to do you a pumpkin, cut you a pumpkin every year.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, do you want to say what you want to say about me?
About you?
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about me. You can say anything you want to. I don't care.
Well, you're my son, and I love you dearly, Tim, with all my heart. We have our differences. I get mad at you, and you get mad at me. But I love you, and you're very intelligent. I know that, and I'm very proud of what you're doing, and what you're doing. You have my blessing and my support, and I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I mean that with all my heart.
Well, I know you said last night that you knew some people in the family had been critical of me being in Washington and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard from both sides of the family, saying adverse things about what you're doing.
Right.
But I support it, and really it's not their business, it's my business, your business, mostly your business.
Well,
right?
Well, I mean, if things worked out differently where I could be here, I'd love to.
I know.
But, to do what I do, and I don't know that I'd be happy doing anything else. I really don't. I mean, God knows I've tried everything else, and this is what makes me happy. And I can't do that here, at least not right now.
No, you can't, and I understand that.
Yeah. I think Daddy would be proud, I hope.
Oh, I know he would.
But it means a lot for you to say that. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too, Tim.
So, we got about maybe 5 minutes. Anything else you want to say? I mean, we're going to do another movie before I leave, but this has been an hour.
Well, if anything should happen to me and you're not here, I don't want you to feel bad about it, because it couldn't be helped, And I don't want you to feel bad about that, because I want you to do what you have to do to get where you want to go.
Wow. Well, thank you for... I almost wish that wasn't on that tape, but okay, whatever.
Why?
Just because it's kind of gruesome and, I don't want to think about that.
Well, I
know you've said that to me before, and, I hope, for your sake, and you've talked about this, that,
Does that depress you?
Well, yeah, because I don't want you to go anywhere, but you told me you were going to hang around for another 20 or 25 years.
I'm not going until I have to.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. All right, that's the deal. So we got another 20, 25 years?
Uh-huh. That's the end of it, okay?
All right.
Goodbye now.
Tell everybody Merry Christmas.
Mm.
Tell everybody Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I love all of you all.